Okay, hello, my name is LucienMaier. I'm with Oranje 44 Studios, and we just wanted to put together a tutorial video on how to create a source version of your Unreal 5. So we're going to be following this documentation. It's pretty clear cut. There are some differences and things that I'll go through as we go through. But I'll go ahead and put a link to this in there, and so go ahead and pull this up and go ahead and read through it. As with anything that you're learning, I always think it's a good idea to read through the whole tutorial and then go back and start to do it. Okay, so the first step that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create a project that we want to take over to the source version. So we're going to go into Unreal and we're going to go ahead and launch the template maker. Okay, so here we are. What you want to go ahead and do is select games, and then third person, want to make sure that it's C++, and you can name it whatever you want. So while this is spooling up, I'll just say that you will probably get lots of requests to install C or Visual Studio and different .NET things. You basically have to go through all those installs in order to get the system to be able to work with that. So if you don't have Visual Studio and stuff installed, the reason I'm not really going through the process is because it's pretty well laid out as it goes. So the base, this one is set up in that exact way where I just kind of answered every question as I went, and added the things that I needed to add to get up to the point where I could load the project correctly. All right, so as you can see, we have a third-person template project here. It's working fine. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and save this out and close it. Okay, so for the next portion, we need to get the files from Epic for the Unreal source. And in order to do that, you do it through GitHub. Let me go ahead and show you. In the 5.0 documentation, it doesn't really have the GitHub instructions. If you click here, it goes to a 404. But what I was able to find, which isn't full information, but the 4.27 documentation, if you just switch at the top, does have a link to the document downloading Unreal source code. I'll also put a link to this, but remember that this is made for 4, not 5, so things are going to be a little different. But basically what you want to do is get yourself access to the GitHub. That's the big note to it, right? You want to get into Epic's GitHub, and there's like steps here how to do that. Okay, once you have access to your GitHub account through Epic, we're going to go ahead and pull up GitHub. Okay, so the way this works is you're going to click on a repository, or basically a place where they store files, right? And in this case, we're going to go to Unreal 5. And then you can look at all the different branches that they have out. Now, this is where things get kind of sketchy, because in the documentation, all these branches are labeled out. But they're the 4.0 naming convention. It looks like in 5 they've changed that on GitHub, so these branch names are a little bit different. The one that I've had the most success with is the 5.0 one, but I have played with some of the other ones. From what I understand, the UE5 one main is the latest like beta version. That's why it's only updated 4 hours ago. But you can kind of, that's how I go by it, is when the release date was and things like that. Again, there's no real good guide that I've found. If anybody knows of one, please comment with it. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and set to 5, and we're going to go ahead and do that. And what it does is basically it sets up a folder on your machine and clones all the files from that branch into that folder. Okay, so once that process is done and you have that taken over, so now you can put that folder basically anywhere. For me, I'm a bit of a syntax junkie, and so I like to put it right with the other ones. So in my Unreal folder, you'll see I have an Engine folder and an Unreal Engine folder. The Unreal Engine folder is the one that is synced by GitHub, and it is the one that's the source compile. Okay, so basically, but again, you can set that folder up anywhere you want from what I understand. I'm just a bit of a syntax junkie, so I put it right there with the other engine folder so everything matched up. All right, so now that you have all your GitHub files, basically you want to go into that directory, into your, let's call that your source directory, and you're going to run the setup.bat. And this is going to go through and check dependencies and hooks for the files and things like that, from what I understand. Once this process is done, it's going to have you add some programs in the prerequisites right there. So you'll have to give admin access on that. And then once that's complete, we'll go on and move to the next step. All right, so we're going to go back to the documentation now. So make sure you're on the 5.0, and basically we've now got the GitHub all set up. Okay, so what we're going to do now is the next step of this is to go into the GitHub folder, and there's going to be a generate projects files.bat. We're going to go ahead and run that. All right, now once those files have been generated, then you go back to your Unreal Projects directory, and you go into the project that you're creating. You'll, on your Unreal project, you want to right-click it, and we're going to switch the Unreal version. So that's set to 5.0 right now. We're going to set it to the source build, and we're going to click OK. And this is going to create some more project files. Again, this part of the process I did not find in the documentation. I just kind of happened upon it through experimenting. And then you're going to go ahead and pull open your Visual Studio file. Okay, so when you pull this window down, you'll see this extensive list of different types of editors and clients that you can create. If you open this and it only has a couple on that list, it is not set to the source mode. It's going to have this giant list of different things. So the first thing that we're going to encode is a development editor, and we're going to go ahead and build that. This process should take quite a while, so we'll check in after. All right, now that you got the clutch cover bolted back on, we're going to go ahead and reattach the clutch, or the clutch cable, so that you can go ahead and pull on that clutch. All right, as you can see, it's been a couple hours and we are still compiling. We're about halfway through now. And like I say, I'll check back, but yeah, be prepared for a wait when you start this process. There's a couple of these in there. Okay, so a couple hours later, as you can see, we're finally at the point to go to the next step. So we've succeeded in our build, and everything has come across correctly. So if you go down on the next, it would be past this step. So we're going to go ahead and set the startup project, and then we're going to go ahead and run the editor. So that is, you want to go down to your project name, whatever that might be, and then you're going to go to set as startup project, and then we're going to right click it again, and we're going to go to debug and start new instance. All right, so at this point we're back to our third-person template, and the engine should be source compiled if everything went off without a hitch. And we can go ahead and play, and everything is still working. I can still move around and everything. So that's pretty much the end of this tutorial. All right, so now we have a source compiled engine. I hope you got some information out of this video and it taught you some things. I hope that your own projects work out well. I hope you'll come by and check out Oranje 44's major project, Creative Continents. We're always looking for more players and people to come in and help us with our creative vision. Thanks very much for stopping by. I hope to see you in the next one.